Hey Raghunath, tell everyone about our Patreon community.
Sure, Kastuba. The Wisdom of the Sages Patreon community is an incredible online yoga resource. If you like the type of yoga wisdom and culture we share on the show, then our Patreon community is a great next step. This is a listener-supported podcast, and any level of sponsorship will unlock a wide range of live and archived classes, talks, and even workshops.
Raghunath teaches, I teach, and we have a host of other excellent teachers on topics ranging from yoga philosophy, asana classes, storytelling, Ayurveda, kirtan, cooking, meditation, and a lot more.
We even have an incredible online Bhakti 12-step recovery group.
So if you want to check it out, go to patreon.com/wisdom of the sages.
All right, let's get it on.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Live from Super Soul Farm, this is Wisdom of the Sages, a daily yoga podcast, with your host, Raghunath, and co-host and senior educator at the Bhakti Center, New York, Kastuba Das. Welcome to the show, everybody. Welcome to Makeover Monday. It's a new day today, starting a very interesting section of the Srimad Bhagavatam. We're talking about going to hell. What do you think about that? Hey, before we start, we want as many people as possible to hear the transformational message of the Srimad Bhagavatam. So please remember to subscribe, like, follow, and most of all, share with people that you love. Hey, you could even share it with someone you don't love so much. Big weekend this weekend, Kastuba. Big weekend.
Did you build a stone wall?
Oh, I was studying my dry stone wall construction, studied trenches, threw stones, foundation stones with my good friend Lev and Chris Pitt. Came together. I got a lot of rocks, Kastuba. We got a lot of stones.
You seem to be avoiding my question, though.
We build a stone wall. Yeah,
Studied?
it's a process.
Oh, yeah,
It's a process.
Okay.
You didn't just whip it off. We're still working on it.
So,
But
you studied. You have some stones.
no, we dug the trenches. We laid foundation stones.
How long of a trench did you dig?
I'd say about 15 feet.
15 feet. Where's the stone wall gonna be?
Well, we built this Harinam patio. Mallory and Rasik and myself built this because it's the only place on the property where you get the sunset and the sunrise.
Where?
On the side of the house, like as you come in. And so we built this patio, and we're thinking it'd be really cool to surround it with a stone wall. And you know what I've realized? And interesting enough, because my friend's a full-time mason and a friend of our family's. And I saw him yesterday, and he said, "So what did you realize about stones?" And I said, "Stones are like beings." He said, yes. And he's not a devotee either. He's just like, stones are beings, and each one of them has a place. And then his wife joined in, who's also sort of a part-time mason. His wife said, and they all have a history. Like they're like the oldest antiques you'll ever see. Yeah. And he says, as soon as you get them, you have to put them somewhere. They need to be placed. And some of them are like people. They're ornery and they don't want to be placed. And so you have to be with them and you have to see them. And you have to, it's an incredible, people talk about walking around barefoot. I tell you, the most grounding thing you can do, holding stones. It was truthfully a meditation. I want to thank Chris Pitt and Lev for helping out.
All right.
Next people come and visit. Maybe you. Going to get you grounded, moving some stones around.
Yeah, maybe.
Hey, I also wanted to mention that, remember how I thought my dog was going to leave his body last week because he's getting old. He was getting old and he couldn't do anything and he was miserable. He couldn't even get on the
He
couch.
kind of whines quite a bit.
He was whining, and I tell you, I think Radha Swami mystically healed him.
He's up and running around.
I'm serious. I was talking to everybody like, Gus is dying. We might want to think of a new dog. And then Radha Swami did the magic. He touched his third eye and chanted the Hare Krishna mantra to him 3 times, and sat with him. Gus is 100% better. He's walking around like nothing happened.
Wow, okay.
mystery dog healer, Maharaj. Add that to his resume.
Okay.
And you could add part-time, what's it called? Stonework guy? Mason. Part-time Mason to my part-time botany for my bio.
Will do.
Okay. So before we start talking about hell, we got to explain that hell is.
What about announcements?
Mara?
Yeah.
I'm
Is this
excited.
a new?
About
Hold
hell,
it, hold
by
it.
the
1
way.
second. Is this a new hairstyle Mara's got going? This looks a little different.
He notices these things.
I noticed these
No,
things.
it's not. But thank you.
You
for
sure?
noticing. Yeah, it's just down. Usually.
Well, okay. Well, that's it. You're wearing it down in a different
Okay,
way.
fair.
She
Right.
goes up and down.
Yeah.
All right.
Today we're back to recovery group meetings at 1, 2, and 9 p.m. Eastern time. If people want the meeting codes, they can go to backtorecoverygroup.com and then click online meeting list.
Woohoo! Last call
Yeah.
for my India pilgrimage in October 16th. Varanasi, Udaipur, Nathwar, Haridwar, Rishikesh, Vrindavan. Last call, Raghunath.yoga. See you there. We got a beautiful, beautiful group.
Okay.
All right, mister.
We got a nugget.
Oh, we got a nugget. I'm ready to get, I'm excited for hell.
Well, this nugget is about hell.
Okay. The principles. This
Hold
is
it.
from
Who's it?
David Thomas.
Now, I don't know who David Thomas is. Like, there's a lot of David Thomases out
Sure,
there.
there's like David Thomas is walking around right
And-
now.
And, there's like a tight end for the New Orleans Saints. There's like some.
I don't think it was him.
It might have been, but the closest I got were like these modern authors, but like the language here is so antiquated that I'm just not sure who is this coming from.
The principles now planted in thy bosom. I don't think that's the tight end for the Saints. The
No, but-
principles now
no,
planted
hold
in
it.
thy.
Well, yeah, and I was, yeah, I know, right? Doesn't sound like a tight end, but you never know.
Imagine if there was like this football team where everybody just spoke like Shakespearean English. The principles now planted in thy bosom. Throw the bomb.
Throw it thy ball.
Throw it thy bomb.
To thou.
Do a flag pattern, and then the tight, and then a quick draw.
But I just wanted to point out that bosom, it's how would you define that in this context?
In the heart, probably
Yeah, well, yeah. One definition for bosom is used to refer to the chest as a seat of emotions.
Interesting.
Okay, so I think that's the way it's being used here.
Okay. I
The
was thinking because
principles.
everyone just says heart, and they'll do the heart mudra. But
Yeah. I
what
say
would
bosom.
be the bosom mudra? Okay. The principles now planted in thy bosom will grow, and one day reach maturity.
Okay.
And in that maturity, thou wilt find thy heaven or thy hell.
Well, you didn't have to turn it to Satan at the end of the thing.
The principles now planted in thy bosom will grow, and one day reach maturity.
Okay.
And in that maturity, thou wilt find thy heaven or thy hell.
So
Very
it's-
nice.
yeah, I mean, in one sense, it's
Well, it's a good way to look at life. Like I'm always
Yeah, that's what I'm
planting
saying.
seeds,
right.
right? I'm planting things within my consciousness, within my heart, within my psyche, within my mind. And those things that we're planting, they're going to grow. It's
They're
not
gonna
like,
grow.
yeah, our bad habits just don't stay neutral. They grow. They
Mm.
grow. We think, well, it's just a little habit. We think it's a little pastime. It's not a pastime. It's like a pathway. And the same with our positive ones. All right. Even
Hold on.
something-
That was a good one. It's not a pastime.
It's a
It's
pathway.
a pathway. Yeah, I got it. These
Right.
things grow.
Yeah, because
You're-
sometimes we think, well, it's just my own thing. It's just my little thing. It's just my thing I do. It's no, I'm not hurting.
But it's
anybody.
growing.
It grows. It grows.
It's almost like
And
a horror movie. It's like it's getting bigger.
the demons are working out in the gym. They're not just sort of like, okay, pull out the demons for some fun and they go back in their box. No, they're going back to CrossFit and they're getting stronger because we're training them and we're saying, it's okay, demons. This is what we do. And I say demons, like meaning our bad
Lower nature.
lower nature. Right. And the same with our higher nature. And and we're almost working against a current in Kali Yuga, we're swimming upstream. So, sometimes, and you see Indians do this because for some reason, I don't know. I think anyway, I've got my theories, but maybe Ayush Pandey, who's listening to Zoom, can tell us. It seems like, Ayush, a lot of Indians can't swim in India. What do you think, Ayush?
Oh, definitely.
Definitely, right? So I've seen Indians by the ocean, and they all arm in arm want to go in the ocean, but they hold like a human chain hold to go in the water. So in that human chain, they're a little protected from the waves.
Mm-hmm.
In the same way, we need that human chain dealing with the current of Kali Yuga, which it can really drag you to some dark places, and you don't even realize it's happening to you. All of a sudden you're in a high consciousness, and then your workplace changes, and then you're surrounded by a bunch of people who the language that comes out of their mouth, or the speech, the sound in the ether, is degrading your consciousness. I mean, we've all experienced this, I think, in the workplace, unless you've lived an incredibly sheltered life or have been fortunate enough to have a very high vibe workplace. But it's almost out of control. What to speak of if you have a boss that they themselves they're the loudspeakers of just like degrading, loud, negative thoughts and sounds that permeate the entire workplace. That's a problem, and that's stuff we have to hear all day long. So over time, this stuff grows and it snowballs. So we're saying plant different seeds, and that's what we're trying to do with the podcast. Put in a little bhakti every day. Put it in a little higher consciousness every day. Put
Bhakti seed.
transcendental wisdom. It's the bhakti seed, the bhakti lata, right?
Yeah.
It grows into a bhakti fruit, a big, sweet, delicious bhakti fruit.
Okay.
A bite.
Thank you, Raghu.
Thank you.
Thank you, David Thomas, whoever thou art.
A Shakespearean football team. I like that. Go for thy bomb. Go for thy Hail Mary. Okay. You ready for the Bhagavatam?
I'm ready to go to hell with you, Raghunath.
Oh, man. Let's hold pinkies and walk to hell together.
Well, that's what we're doing today.
Okay. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayamudirayat. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances to the Supreme Lord Narayan, to Narayan Rishi, the supremmost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and to Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta prayeshva badreshu nityam bhagavat sevaya bhagavati uttama bhaktir bhavati naistiki. By regular attendance in classes in the Bhagavatam and by rendering service to the pure devotees, all that is troublesome to the heart will become eradicated, and loving service to the Supreme Lord, who is praised with transcendental songs, will be established as an irrevocable fact. Om Jnana Tamarandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chaksurunmadatam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, and my teachers are opening my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my obeisances at their lotus feet.
Yeah.
Reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, Chapter 26, Text 1.
Yeah, well, the whole thing we're gonna try to. If we got to go through hell, we're gonna try to do it in one show. Okay.
Well, that's what, if you're gonna go through hell, get in and out as quick as possible.
That's right. Yeah.
And when I first heard this concept of hell, like when I was a brand new devotee, and someone said, "Yeah, we all believe in hell." I was like, "You're kidding? Hell?" Because the way the Christians explain it, I don't like that concept that a loving God is going to send you someplace eternally. That's like saying, go to your room. Okay, for how long, Mom? Forever. Like, there's no love in going to your room forever. There's no lesson to be learned. Or they say, you just get this lesson now, and if you don't pass the test, sorry, you lose. But wait a second. We might not have ample opportunity in this lifetime to even to opt into God, or into Jesus, as they put it. Opt into Jesus. You just might not have met a Christian in this life. I mean, you got to think about how big Christianity was in the year 9, or the year, right? And if you were born in Beijing or Nome, Alaska, or Barcelona, maybe Barcelona, I don't know. Not probably not in the year 9. You might not have met a Christian, which was a small cult, in the year 9. So where is a loving God? And where is a loving God for all the people getting born before Christ? It was always,
Well, I think Christians, theologians would have their explanations for that.
yeah, but I feel like it's all speculation. Well,
Yeah, you're
they're
trying to
probably
explain it away. Yeah, in any case, I think your initial point with just like, if God, you'll read biblical statements that say like narrow is the way, to heaven and so on. So if if the few get there, and then that means the mass go through hell, but they don't go through it. Actually, they just go there and they just stay there eternally burning in the lake of fire. And it seems to be a logical breakdown there, that a compassionate, loving God would want that. So here we're getting a presentation that, according to your karma and your choices, you go up, you go down, and then you come back, and then you try again, and hopefully you learn from it.
And we see that in this life. We see that in this lifetime. I make some bad choices, and then sometimes you get out of a relationship, or you give up a bad habit, and then you end up going to a different person, but it's with the same problems. You fall into these same patterns in dating. You fall into these same patterns with you're switching, maybe your intoxicant, or you switch your negative addiction to something else. But it's the same type of reoccurring programming of the consciousness until you make an actual, I'm going to do this different. Here's stimulus. How am I going to respond? Right? Usually between stimulus and response, there's some type of space, hopefully. But usually when we're acting in this Rajas and tamasic way, from stimulus to response, there's no space. There's like, okay, here's the stimulus. You're sad. I'm going to respond by, drugging, sexing, eating, whatever it is. There's no space or thought. The yoga system is meant to get your consciousness to sattva, where there's more and more space to react differently to how I've always reacted, and to get us out of this loop. And that's what samsara is. Samsara is a circle, a wheel that we keep almost like a figure eight too. You just keep doing the same thing again and again and again. Can I get out of there in this life and not make the same dumb choices, or move forward and say, you know what, I'm going to choose something different. Of course, this has a Seinfeld reference. Can you name that Seinfeld reference?
No.
I'm going to do the George Costanza. Who are you? I'm the opposite of every man you've ever met. when George starts doing the opposite of what he will normally do, he has all success. So we have these programmings to do bad things sometimes. And sometimes we have to act what goes against our so-called instinct. It's not instinct. Oftentimes we've been trained in bad habits, and we say for lifetimes. And so this way, we're going to do the opposite. We're going to act in a positive way, a spiritual way, a better choice. And in this way, we see these circles in this lifetime. Now we're just saying that circle, there's a bigger concentric circle, and it happens in lifetimes. Not that we've been making bad choices in this lifetime. We've been making these bad choices for lifetimes after lifetimes. And here's our chance to get out of it.
Okay. Now, a couple of things I want to mention before we get into this chapter, because you could read this chapter and be like, oh my God, it's the same religious stuff. They're just throwing you go to hell for this and that. And oh my God, you got all different varieties of hell, for different.
Well, that's good.
Sins.
I think the whole river of fire is horrible. I think it should be changed up, differentiated.
Okay.
I want a different variety in hell.
But I want to make one point clear, is that's not so much the trend in Srimad Bhagavatam. It's not so much the emphasis. As a matter of fact, you got 16,000 verses in Bhagavatam, and we got 28 verses right here that are going to talk about hell. So let's just put it in proportion, right? This isn't a kind of fire and brimstone piece of literature. And really the context here is that it's going to say that, according to dharmic choices, one ascends to higher pleasures in the material world. If one starts to make adharmic choices, which really most of it has to do with cruelty, that you experience pain for that, in all these different varieties of ways. And then when it describes those darkest kind of pains, which is this chapter that we're going to do today, then and this will be the end of the 5th canto. Then the 6th canto will be Maharaj Parikar responding to the narrator Shukadeva Goswami, saying, well, what can we do about this? Like, how can we help people that are experiencing this kind of pain? And that opens up the gate to understanding. I would say like two points come charging out the gate in the sixth canto. One is just how kind and merciful and forgiving and just wanting to find whatever little good is there in Vishnu or Krishna, that they'll magnify whatever tiny little good we have and reward us for it. And the second part is that how powerful the names of God are, and how this is just like a rope to hang on to in this dark age, that these names are so incredibly powerful that just by chanting them, you're saved from all these destinations made from bad choices. So let's try to understand the context of how this is coming in.
I like how you did that.
Okay.
You're showing like, okay, this is a horrible situation, but there's a lot of hope right here as well.
Well, again, what I'm really trying to say is that this isn't a literature that just dwells on like you're going. It's just giving a tiny little brief mention of it.
A brief mention
to frame another topic, which is all the optimistic stuff.
I love it. Incredible mercy. Now, by the way, we are preempting all this stuff. Like I just went into this whole spiel about cycles that we do in this lifetime. Kaustubh is zooming out, showing the bigger picture of the Bhagavatam. This isn't a fear-based spiritual practice. We do this because Kaustubh and me, on a regular basis, for decades now, have been trying to explain like esoteric topics to regular people. And so this is the best way we do it. Otherwise, if you zoom right to these fine points of the Bhagavatam, the whole thing can turn you off really quick, because you're like, as you said earlier, oh, I get it. This is just fire and brimstone stuff. I've seen all this. But that was a really nice way to explain like how it leads into this next chapter. Seeing it in proper context. Kaustubh, I see a lot of people...
remember what I said about let me set the pace this show if we're going to get through it. You gotta just give me no, I love hearing what you say, but we're going to have to we got 28 hells to go to today.
You don't want to stay in hell for a few days?
Well, yeah, I'd rather get out of hell.
28 hells to go to?
Yeah.
All right. Let's take our tour of hell.
But I wanted to break it down just a bit before we go there. I found that about out of the 28, 20 of them had directly to do with cruelty to other people. And amongst those ones that dealt with cruelty, 10 of them had to do with violence or killing. And amongst those 10, 5 of them specifically mentioned cruelty to animals. So that's important. You go to hell for that kind of thing. Another 5 had to do with cheating others. Another 3 had to do with just being unkind. And 2 of them had to do with misuse of power. Being in a position of power and misusing it.
Interesting.
Okay, so those are 20 of the 28. Now the other 28 are more like you could call them breaking religious codes.
Okay.
And even within them, I think there's almost always an element of cruelty in it, and amongst those breaking of religious codes, like 3 of them are sexual in nature. And I think that also has something to do with kind of just trying to understand, like you're dealing with something that's sacred as if it weren't,
I like the way you frame that. You're dealing with something that is sacred as if it weren't.
Yeah, taking it far too casually and not respecting it for what it is, So in any case, let's go ahead and dig in. And the chapter opens up with let's see, in text 1, King Parikshit inquires from Sukadeva Goswami, "My dear sir, why are the living entities put into different material situations? You just told me about the whole universe. We went from the top down. What is it that kind of determines how one ends up where, enjoying heavenly pleasures, kind of getting the mix of earthly, back and forth pleasure and pain, or like these more like really painful places? What's determining that?" And in text 2, Sukadeva Goswami says, "My dear king, he says in this material world, there are three kinds of activities: activities in the mode of goodness, activities in the mode of passion, activities in the mode of ignorance. And because all people are influenced by the three modes of material nature, the results of their activities are also divided into three. One who acts in the mode of goodness is dharmic and happy. One who acts in the mode of passion achieves mixed misery and happiness. And one who acts under the influence of ignorance, it's a very destructive influence, right, is always unhappy and lives like an animal. Because of this, because of the varying degrees to which the living entities are influenced by the different modes of nature, their destinations are also of different varieties.
Mhm.
Now, the next verse makes an interesting point. And it says, it says that if you act in the mode of ignorance due to madness, then the miseries that you receive from that are less severe. And if you act impiously, one who acts impiously but knows the distinction between pious and impious activities, it's more severe. And when it's straight out like defiance of all that is good and all that is holy, it's like still worse.
Right. Like if you kill somebody, but your lawyer pleads insanity on your behalf.
Yeah.
You get a little lesser. That lessens the punishment.
Intention has a lot to do with the severity of how much we suffer.
We have that in the American law system, right? There's first-degree murder, second-degree murder, manslaughter.
Premeditated. Yeah, it's like, the intention has a lot to do with it. Okay, and then in text 4, he says, where are these places located? What?
I'm laughing because I was like, okay, right now we're trying to make hell sound as reasonable as possible.
Well, that's
reasonable. We do that in our court system.
Yeah.
Hell is very reasonable.
Because it's going to start sounding pretty wild soon. So just buckle up your seatbelt. All right. Okay.
Okay, go on.
So in text 4, it says, where do you just gave me this whole description of the universe. Where do these hellish planets exist? And in text 5, he said that, it's kind of like between everything he's described now and the Garbhodaka Ocean. It's like it's way down there. It's kind of somehow these planets aren't even really considered part of the other planetary systems that were described before.
Really? Wait a second. They're not part of the.
Well, he says all the hellish planets are situated in the intermediate space between the three worlds and the Garbhodaka Ocean.
Ah.
Yeah. They lie on the southern side of the universe, beneath Bhumandala, and slightly above the water of the Garbhodaka Ocean. Pitri-loka is located in this region between the Garbhodaka Ocean and the lower planetary systems. You know who lives at Pitri-loka?
The forefathers.
But in particular, Yamaraj is there, and he's kind of the judge of, who the hellish experience that you go through.
Planet.
Yeah. Okay. So
everybody's like listening on the edge of their seat, Kostuba. They're all like, "What hell? Okay, what hell am I going to?"
Okay. Okay. So let's get to that. And here it says some authorities say that there is a total of 21 hellish planets. Some say 28. My dear king, I shall outline all of them according to their names, forms, and symptoms. The names of the different hells are as follows, and he lists them all. Okay. So let's get started. Okay. In text 8, you look excited right now.
Just thinking like how they have these Caribbean cruises. Wouldn't it be great? Like, let's tour the hells.
That's what we're about to do.
All right.
Okay, so text 8,
Captain.
This one has to do with cheating others.
Cheating others. Okay, we've all done that. We've all done that once or twice. Tell me how much time I'm going to have to do.
Well, this is a specific type of cheating. Appropriating another's legitimate wife, children, or money. That's dirty, low down. All right.
I've had an affair with a person before I was a devotee.
A married person?
No, not a married person. But
what are you talking about? That's why do you even bring that up?
I'm just trying to be vulnerable. Because I'm thinking, because if that's back then, everybody was married. Right. So if you were with a girl, but
they're unmarried people. What are you talking about?
No, but you weren't dating and having, but that all I'm saying is if someone was a couple and then I barged in and that person
took their child or took their wife or took their
I didn't take their child
money. Okay.
All right.
So that person
figure out what I'm responsible for.
There's a hell called Tamishra that
Okay,
deals
what's
with
going to
these
happen
people.
to me there?
You get chastised there, you get beaten, you get starved of food and water, and sometimes you faint.
Wasn't worth it.
It definitely was not worth it.
Definitely
Okay.
wasn't worth it.
Okay, another cheating one in text 9. This is the hell called Undhatamisra.
Okay, what kind of
Undhatamisra.
cheating? What kind of cheating for this one?
Slyly cheating another man and enjoying his wife and children. It just seems like it's increased.
Increase slyly.
Yeah. Maybe slyly means like it's.
Yes.
The other one didn't mention. The other one was like you're right up front about it. This one is like you're doing it
behind their back.
slyly.
Okay.
You get thrown down, full of pain. You lose consciousness and sight.
I wonder if that's it. Like, okay, you get thrown down, lost my sight. Okay, now next, take your next birth. That was it? Oh, I thought I was going to be here for like 100 years. No,
well, you know,
just 3 down.
I'm reading these little summaries, but when you read the full thing, I'll read you the full thing. The destination of the person who slyly cheats another man and enjoys his wife and children is the hell known as Undhatamisra. There, his condition is exactly like that of a tree being chopped at its roots. Even before reaching this place, the sinful living being is subjected to various extreme miseries. These afflictions are so severe that he loses his intelligence and sight. It's for this reason that the learned sages call this hell Undhatamisra. Tamishra means darkness. Undhatamisra means blindness.
Wow.
Okay, so it's not so easy. It's not just like being thrown down on the wrestling mat one time. It's like
okay, I got a question for you. So it says men, women get this too, right? Just
it
to
says
be fair,
men.
just to be neutral.
Certainly they're getting something, but this is most of this is like for men. It seems like men are going to hell more than women. I'll be quite honest with you here.
I think they are.
All right. Okay. Next one. This is text 10:11. There's a hell called Raurava.
Oh, I heard that's bad.
Yeah, it's like these Ruru animals are there, and they're like
Ruru. Those are the dogs from hell, right?
Yeah, it's like dogs, kind of.
Because they're Rurus, aren't they called Rurus?
Rurus, yeah, Rurus.
The Rurus are the dogs, but this is interesting because there's a deer over on hill called the Ruru as well. I need a Sanskrit pundit to figure this one out.
Okay.
These are the negative Rurus.
For this is why you go to Raurava, for committing violence against other living entities.
Pulling the wings off bugs when you were little.
Yeah, things like that will do it. And maintaining family by thinking in terms of me and mine. Committing violence against other living entities to maintain your own family. Okay. And due to thinking in terms of me and mine. If you do that, you go to this place, and these Rurus, they're kind of like dogs, but it mentions here that they're more envious than snakes.
You know, it's interesting. That seems like very normal. It seems like almost religious. Like, well, I'm just taking care of my family.
But you're committing violence against other living entities.
At the expense of others.
Yeah, it's like, why is your family being protected and every other family you don't care about at all? And you're willing to cause pain to them?
Yeah, because they're my family.
No, you're going to have to suffer for that.
I thought I was doing a good thing.
All right. The next thing is this is more or less similar. Maintaining one's own body by hurting others. For that, you go to Maharauvara. So it's one thing if you're doing it for your family, but if you're just doing it for yourself,
right?
These Ruru animals, known as Kravyadas, torment you, and they eat your flesh.
Oh God! Well, it's probably maybe yeah. Okay, I'm not going to even speculate how you get.
Don't want to go there. Just don't do it.
Just don't do things like that.
Just say no. Okay. Now, this is one. So the first two are about cheating. The next two had to do with violence. This third one has to do with violence. And, you know, I said 5 of the 10 mention animals specifically, but I would imagine that other ones about committing violence against other living entities, you could throw the animal ones in there too. Sure. But this one is specifically about animals. Cooking animals and birds alive to maintain body and satisfy tongue. Even in England, right? They made that they made that law about like boiling lobsters alive. They made that like illegal.
That's right. That's right.
It's particularly cruel.
Alive.
And for this, you go to a place called Kumbhipaka. You know what they do to you there, Raghunath?
Cook you alive.
They boil you in oil.
Oh,
you don't want to do that.
It is.
I mean, come on.
It's karma. But I tell you, it's sort of like everyone when they hear about this hell, they're all like, "Yeah, get those guys." We're all feeling a little self-righteous when we hear this one.
All right.
All
Okay,
the other ones were like, "Oh, please be lenient on us."
Well, this one we probably, hopefully, haven't done. The next one is a hell called Kala Sutra, and this is for killing of a brahmana. If you kill a saintly, wise person that's just going around like doing good to people,
Yep.
You go to this place, and there you're burnt internally by hunger and thirst, and externally by sun and fire. Lying down and sitting and standing up and running about, you suffer for a long time.
Seems like you should get worse for killing a Brahmin.
No, that sounds pretty bad to me. I mean, again, I'm reading these little summaries. If you want me to read the more like graphic explanation of it,
no, that's good. That's good.
Yeah, I can if you want, but like basically the whole planet is like a hot copper plate that's being heated below. Okay, so it's more like you're getting cooked.
Is this the hot copper planet? There is a hot copper planet, right?
Yeah, this is the one.
This is the one. Okay.
Okay. The next one, this is now we're getting to the breaking of religious codes.
Okay. Is that the sex one?
No, this isn't sexual yet.
Okay.
Asi Patravan. That's what this place is called. And you go there for deviating from the path of the Vedas in the absence of an emergency. So there is like kind of like it's being qualified here that if there's an emergency, you might actually deviate from the path of the Vedas. But if there's no emergency and you still do it, now what exactly that refers to, right?
Yeah.
Like in what way did you deviate?
Well,
and my guess is, again, it probably has to do with committing cruelty to others. I
mean, there's a million things I could think of.
Yeah.
That would make you break a Vedic code out of an emergency.
Oh, well, emergency, you get away. There's a
you get a pass.
You get out of jail free card if there's some emergency that rationalizes the whole thing.
Sure.
Okay, but here you get beaten with whips, and you flee in pain, but they're still whipping you. And the whips are like palm tree leaves that are sharp, and they're really sharp. And you get injured and you faint and you cry a lot.
I believe that.
Like that.
Yeah. That's
okay.
horrible.
Now the next one has to do with the misuse of power. Okay. People that are in positions of power must consider this. If a king or a government, or if a king or a governmental representative punishes an innocent person or inflicts corporal punishment on a brahmana, you go to a place called Sukaramukha, and there your limbs are crushed, just like sugarcane juice.
Oh,
you cry pitifully.
Ever watch sugarcane get crushed by those two grinding wheels?
Yeah, you get crushed like that.
Like gears.
If you have a position of power, it's very important that you have compassion. And if you misuse that position of power and you hurt innocent people, you pay. Okay. The next one has to do with violence, and it's particularly violence towards animals. You go to a place called Andakupa.
Oh yeah.
If a developed human being kills or torments insignificant creatures who have no discrimination, right? An indiscriminate creature, this is a mosquito bite one, right? It's like it doesn't have any discrimination when it bites you.
Yeah, it's not.
Although anyway, we hear. But in any case, what happens if you do that? You get attacked by all the birds, beasts, reptiles, mosquitoes, lice, worms, flies, and others whom you had tormented in your life. Comes right back at you.
Yep, that's where I'm going. I'm going to the Japanese beetle hell.
All right. Without sleep or resting place, you wander around in the darkness like a creature in the lower species, and you're just getting bitten and it's terrible. Okay, now this next one is
they're gonna kill my fruit trees. What can I do, Kostuba? They're gonna kill
trying to protect
my fruit
another
trees.
So there might be some concession.
Okay, please.
Yeah, you're gonna say, yeah, Maharaj, I was trying to protect the fruit trees. Okay, duly noted.
Duly noted. Okay.
But still
12 days. No!
Okay. Next one is for just being unkind. And it's a place called Krimi Bhojana. This is for people that eat without sharing with guests. That's low class.
That's low class. If you're eating something, somebody comes over, you're like, okay, let me just finish up my food.
Yeah. If you eat without sharing with guests, old men or children, or if you eat without making it the proper offering, it's said that you're no better than a crow, who just like goes and picks something up and takes off with it and doesn't think about others.
And you don't make a proper offering? Is that what you said?
Yeah. Yeah. So for that, you become a worm.
Oh God, I don't want to be a worm.
Well, it gets worse. And you're swimming around in a lake of worms, a big lake.
That's horrible. You know what?
And they're kind of eating each other.
I was digging earth yesterday with Lev, and we were taking all this earth we were digging and from the wheelbarrow and throwing it in the front loader of the tractor. And I was looking at all those worms, just like, I was thinking about what's it
like a miserable
existence?
existence.
What's it like to be a worm right now? And they're like, you're getting lifted up from your earth. You're getting thrown into one barrel, thrown into another tractor, and I'm going to dump you somewhere else. And I was just thinking to myself, they still probably think, yeah, I'm in control of my life. We are like these worms, Kostuba, right now, just getting thrown around thinking I have some relative control of my life. We have no control. The universe is going to lift us, throw us somewhere, deal us this, has dealt us that. We're helpless worms getting tossed around by the tractors of material nature.
Mayor's noting that right now we're helpless worms. Okay.
Anyway,
right.
Worms don't want to be a worm. What to speak of a tapeworm? They don't say what kind of worms. There's many, many different types of worm species out there.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Tapeworms are horrible. They're probably the lowest class of worms if there is a caste system amongst worms.
Okay, we got to keep moving here, Raghunath.
All right, go.
I know you have you have a lot of worm knowledge to share with us.
Lots of purports on these worms.
Okay. The next one is for cheating.
Cheating what?
With cheating brahmanas in particular, robbing a brahmana or others of gems or gold in the absence of an emergency. If you do it in an emergency, there's some consideration. Okay, but if there's no emergency and you're acting like that, you go to Sandamksha. And they're the Yamadutas, these kind of really fearsome beings. They tear your skin with red hot iron balls and tongs. It's really bad. Don't do it.
Don't do that. We're gonna leave it at that.
Okay.
I don't like picking up a hot spoon from the oven. What to speak of getting picked up by hot tongs.
Right.
You know what? You're not really
Raghunath, you can't give a long purport on this.
I'm not, but I'm just saying you're not making these should be scarier. I know you want to go through.
Well,
these,
again, if you want me to read it in more detail, I can.
Well, all I'm saying is
you don't think having your skin torn and separated by red hot iron balls and tongs, you don't think that's
it does, but we're sort of like you need to step
in this way your entire body is cut to pieces. Nah, it's really, really bad. Okay, next one in text 20. This is breaking religious codes. The next two are of sexual nature.
All right, here we go.
Indulging in sex with an unsuitable person.
Check.
I don't know. I don't know exactly what that means. But for that, you go to that means anyone other than one's spouse. Check.
That's like, yeah. We're all going to this hell practically.
You get beaten there.
What else?
And you could embrace a red hot iron form of the opposite sex. You might be forced to do that.
A red hot iron form. A red hot iron form of the opposite sex.
Or in text 21, indulging in sex indiscriminately. And it gets graphic there. I'm not gonna read it.
Every saint has a past and every sinner has a future.
Okay. There Yamadutas will hang, kind of like grab onto you and kind of like they're kind of pulling you up and down on these silk cotton trees that have thorns, and it's really ripping you up.
Silk cotton sounds good, but they're actually silk cotton trees they're thorn trees.
They're thorn trees.
All right, I don't like grabbing onto roses. I don't want to get pulled up and down there. I'm not going to do that anymore.
Next
That's
one,
over. That part of my life is dead.
That's right. Give it up. We're kidding. That sounds excessive. Yes, that does.
It sounds excessive.
I think there's more detail in there.
Well, here's another interesting thing. we've culturally
we've normalized stuff that's
we normalize crazy stuff, and
yeah.
even since I was a little kid, crazy stuff is normalized. So we got to understand there's a current, and it's not drifting towards the heavenly planets. And
Imagine,
so we need a gold standard of what normal is.
Yeah. Imagine if we actually thought of sex in a completely different way than we think of it now. Like we think of it like, oh, it's a party. Oh, it's like,
well, it's just
you know,
recreational.
it's like,
She wants to do it. I want to. It's what do they call it when two people want to do it? It's consent.
consensual.
It's consensual sex. How about it's the most sacred thing in the universe?
And treat it like that. Yeah,
that's the gold standard. You're calling a soul into the womb.
Yeah. Right. Okay. Yeah.
I'm just saying that's a standard. I'm not saying I'm.
Yeah.
Okay. Raghunath.
Next one. Another breaking of religious codes: neglecting one's prescribed duties and breaking the religious principles, despite being born into a responsible family. So, you know, what can that mean? Like, I'm not a good parent. Let's say I neglect taking care of my children. Or I neglect. You know, I think in so many ways that's going to have to do with cruelty or neglect. You know, towards other beings.
Say that again. Let's say that again.
Neglecting one's prescribed duties and breaking the religious principles, despite being born into a responsible family.
So there we go. This is the message for the second generation devotees here.
All right.
All right. Second generation. You're born into a pious religious family. You're doing worship and puja and kirtan on a regular basis, and you're like stepping out.
We got 6 minutes left. We got 6 minutes left.
Go.
So for that, you go to the Vaitarani River where aquatic animals eat you. Yeah, it's bad. Oh, and the river is full of all kinds of nasty stuff too. You don't want to go there. Text 23. This is a breaking of religious codes. If husbands of Sudra women live like animals without good behavior, cleanliness, or regulation. So like if you don't treat this is for the husbands out there. You got to get your act together. You know, you get thrown in an ocean full of really nasty stuff. It's terrible there.
Pustule, urine, mucus, saliva,
things like that.
Similar things.
Things like that. Yeah. Okay, then the next.
I don't even like when there's seaweed in the pond. That's when I get
stool
and urine.
You would be craving for a seaweed pond.
Seaweed would seem like
give me seaweed. Okay. Text number 24 has to do with violence towards animals. If men of higher classes, a lot of this has to do with if you've been given higher knowledge and you still don't respond, you got responsibility placed on you.
This is hunting.
If men of higher classes take their pet dogs or asses to hunt and kill animals unnecessarily, well, for that you go to Pranarodha, where the Yamadutas make you their target and pierce you with arrows.
Wow, that is actually what everybody. I mean, if that seems like a very healthy American sport. You know, you take your Labrador, your golden retriever to the forest. It seems like it doesn't get more natural and healthy than this. Nope.
Okay,
nope, that's the problem.
Next one is breaking religious. Oh, I can't even read this one. It's too pornographic in nature.
Oh, now we're all want to know.
Yeah,
but there's hells for whatever you're thinking, people.
You get thrown into a flowing river of stuff that you don't want to be.
All right.
Thrown into, and you're forced to drink it.
This is rated PG. It's not even PG-13. This podcast.
Yeah, we're not going to describe that one. Check out text 26 if you
on your own
want the details on that. I'm not reading it. Okay. But that was one of the three that was sexual in nature. I'll share that. Okay, the next one I kind of put under two categories. It has to do with cheating and also the misuse of power. If one is a thief, arsonist, prisoner, or government official who plunders mercantile men, right? You just overtax them, you rob from them, you cheat them. You go to a place called Saramedhyadhana, where 720 dogs voraciously devour you. Don't misuse your power, people. Okay. Text 28. This is for cheating. If you lie or bear false witness in business transactions or in giving charity. You know, that's a really low down thing to do. You false charities and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. People are you're relying on people's kindness and you're taking for your own.
Yeah, and that's really off. You go to Avichamat. From a mountain, really high mountain, they throw you down head first. And it looks like it's water down there, but it's not. And they do it once, and you think you would die, but you don't. And they bring you back up there, and then they do it again. And that goes on for some time. Okay, next one has to do with breaking religious codes. Again, it's particularly the Brahmanas. If you're raised with good principles and you don't live according to them, if a Brahmana or Brahmana's wife or someone following a Vrata drinks liquor, if a Kshatriya or Vaishya drinks somarasa in illusion, Yamadutas stand on your chest and they pour really hot liquid into your mouth. It's not just normal liquid. It's like
It's
molten iron.
hot melted iron.
Yeah, okay.
Well, that's a horrible way. It seems like it shouldn't be that bad just for having liquor.
Now this next one is the one that's most concerning to me because
The straight edge people should really run with this.
Just
one.
a couple minutes left, Raghunath. A couple minutes.
We're never gonna make all these, man.
We're almost done.
There's like 40
if you would
texts.
stop giving lengthy things, we would get through it.
I think you gotta break this down.
No. We're almost
Hell's
done.
gotta be longer.
No. We're almost done. I'm getting out of hell today. You can stick around if you want to. This one is if you don't offer proper respect to people that are elevated, elevated in so many different ways. You get thrown head first into a pool of mud. Okay,
I've done that. I've already been in that hell.
All right. Another one that has to do with violence, sacrificing human beings.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Put those guys in hell.
They go to Rakshogana Bhojana.
I want to hear how they
where
suffer.
the victims that you sacrifice in the form of Rakshasas cut you up.
They cut you up.
Looking like you want to get sliced up. That's
Yeah.
what happens here. Okay, they take care of you. Another, violence to animals. If you give pain to animals who are seeking protection,
Oh.
you go to Shulaprota, where your body is pierced with sharp needle-like lances, and you suffer from hunger and thirst, and you're attacked by black-beaked birds like vultures and herons, and then you remember your sinful act. Okay,
That's good.
yeah. Next one has to do with being unkind. Oh, this one's kind of, I mean, I say it's funny. It's not funny, but if you're this is for people that are envious like serpents who are always angry and giving pain to others. Oh, no, this isn't the one I was thinking of yet. No, this isn't the one I was thinking yet.
None of these are funny, Kostuba.
You go to Dandashuka, where serpents with 5 or 7 hoods just bite you up.
Those who are
Okay, the
those who
next
are
one has to do.
envious.
Next
for
one has to do
envy.
with violence, confining other living entities into dark wells, granaries, or caves. That's wrong.
That's wrong. Don't
You
lock
go-
people in granaries. People, if that's our takeaway today. No more locking people in granaries. Well, people do that. They lock them in basements and dungeons. There's horrible people out there.
Okay.
What
For
hell are they
that-
gonna go?
You get punished. You get thrown into a dark well, which got like horrible poisonous fumes and smoke, and you suffocate in there.
They should get worse than that for locking people in their house.
Well, again, if I'm reading the more detailed version of that,
I want the.
I'm
I'm
gonna
I'm gonna tease that one. I want to find out more about that hell because I
Pushed in
was
a dark well where poisonous fumes and smoke suffocate them, and they suffer very severely. It wants to make sure you understand that, Raghunath.
Yes.
Okay, now this one is for being unkind.
All right. This seems like
This one is kind of one that kind of cracks me up a little bit.
I was having a hard day.
If a
You had a
householder,
hard day.
if a householder receives guests or visitors with cruel glances, get off my lawn.
Get off my lawn.
Don't throw people off your lawn with cruel glances. Because what happens is you go to a place called Paryavartana, and they're hard-eyed vultures, herons, crows, and similar birds gaze at you. Imagine like you got like all these vultures and they're just looking at you
Gazing
like,
me.
oh.
I'd be okay if
And,
they gaze at me as long as they don't attack me. Do they?
Well, then they
attack me?
swoop down and they pluck your eyes out with great force.
Oh, okay. All right. Pass.
But I think I'd rather that just happen quick than like go through this extended period where all these vultures are just looking at you like, you dirty dog.
You dirty dog. We're going. I would
Okay.
immediately place my hands on my eyes.
Yeah, they would just take their beaks and they'd bite your hands. You'd be like, ow.
and then the other, an
And then they
owl
go
would
for
come
your
this-
eyes.
Yeah.
Okay, next one, last one. If you're proud of your wealth, even if you're fearful of losing it, and perform sin to earn more, that's it, right? You hurt other people to earn more. Such people have a twisted vision. And what happens is you go to Suchimukha, where Yamadutas punish you by stitching thread through your entire body like weavers manufacturing cloth.
Ouch.
Yikes. Okay, so that's what those are the terrible places you go for your cruelty, for your violence towards innocent creatures, to cheating other people. That's what you get.
Genevieve says, I am fairly certain I've committed most of these offenses.
Yeah, I think.
Guess what, Genevieve? I think we all have. We didn't know right from wrong, practically speaking.
That's why.
And that's why the next section of the Bhagavatam is
do some chanting, Genevieve.
Some good news for you.
So I'll just kind of wrap it up. In the verses, there's 4 more verses where it says, in the kingdom of Yamaraj, there are hundreds and thousands of these planets, all impious people. They go there, and pious people go to the heavenly planets. So, like, if you're dharmic, you enjoy. If you're not, you suffer. Both categories of people are again brought to the earth after exhausting the results of this karma. And then let's read those last few verses. They're real nice. What they mention is that that Sukadeva Goswami is saying, I've already described in the earlier cantos the path towards liberation. And in the Puranas, this Virat Rupa, this form, he's wrapping up chapters now, this form of God in the form of the universe, that by meditating on that external body, you will be able to understand the body of Sri Krishna, like the form of Krishna. By meditating on this world as God's body, you will qualify yourself to see the actual body of God. And he says, thus I have described the planet Earth, the Dvipas, the different islands, the Varshas, the different areas, the rivers, the mountains, the skies, the oceans, the lower planetary systems and directions, the hellish planets and the stars. These constitute this Virat Rupa, this universal form on which living entities repose. That's it. That's the 5th canto. We're done.
Ooh.
All right.
Hope you enjoyed hell.
We made it through hell. Any takeaways, Mara?
Here's Hell's Angel herself.
Stones are beings too, with history and personality.
Oh, yeah. Let's bring it back pre-hell. Stones are beings.
Pre-hell.
We're always planting seeds within. Plant bhakti seeds.
Nice.
Yeah, these are nice.
It's going to get worse.
Worms.
It's not a pastime. It's a pathway. Our habits will grow.
That's right.
Ooh.
That's a good one.
Get in and out of hell as quickly as possible.
In and out. Boom.
Yoga is meant to utilize the space between stimulus and response.
You like that?
Little Viktor Frankl there. I'm gonna give credit where credit's due. Yeah.
We're helpless worms getting tossed around by the tractor of material existence.
Yikes.
Tractor. Yeah. I'm independent. I'm in control. Get in the tractor.
Our cultural current is drifting away from the heavenly planets.
Mm-hmm.
Treat sex like it's the most sacred thing in the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would solve so many problems, relieve so much suffering.
So much suffering, mental,
God.
egoistic.
So much is
all
tied
because
to
of
it.
like so much is tied to it. Imagine that.
Yeah.
Hell is reasonable.
Hell's reasonable.
Temporary hell is reasonable.
Temporary hell is very
Eternal
reasonable.
hell is not reasonable.
It's not reasonable. It's just not reasonable. Like I hear all these hells you're explaining. I'm like, you know what? It's reasonable.
Yeah.
But when I hear about an eternal hell, swimming in an ocean of fiery brimstone, that's not that reasonable.
Eternally? No.
Eternally, no.
And
Uh-huh.
No more locking people in greeneries.
No more locking people in granaries. I don't know what some of you people are thinking out there.
That's what you country people do, Raghunath.
Yeah, you get in the granary.
It's
What is
like,
a
I don't
granary?
want
Like a silo? It's like a
where you store the
silo.
grains, yeah. Because
You know
they're
what?
locked
Now
up.
I want to
you
start
know?
looking at the silos around here upstate.
We're getting
Inside is-
some good news on the chat board. Chapu shares from the Padyavali. The words Krishna, Krishna are sufficient to purify people's sins.
Oh, that's good.
Right?
One who worships Tulsi on Dwadasi, the 12th day, and chants. Okay, wait. By touching Tulsi, one becomes free of all sins. In this way, one becomes free of the sin
You're
of
for the sin of killing
Brahmins.
a Brahmin. Just
Don't
touch the
start
Tulsi
killing
plant.
Brahmins. Don't let Maturana convince you to kill Brahmins by touching.
One who
by
worships Tulsi on the Dwadasi, the 12th day, and chants this Tulsi stava destroys all 32 kinds of separate. But the one thing we're going to learn in the next canto is that, but if you do these things thinking that, if you go ahead and do these things and think it's okay, I'll just touch Tulsi or just say Krishna, Krishna, no. Doesn't work.
This is the chutes and ladders, right? There are certain things that like propel you upwards. They're trampolines in our spiritual life. And there's certain things that are the sinkholes, the chutes of material existence which slide you down. So we have to make sure we're not just playing that game. I'll counteract it with this. That's not bhakti either. Thanks everybody for joining us. It's been a fun day in hell with all of you. I wouldn't want to be in hell with anybody else except you guys. Stuba, you and me, holding pinkies, walking to the lower planets together, smiling, chanting the holy name, embracing hot copper women. We can do that. Swimming in despicable rivers, worse than the Hudson.
Yeah.
Oh, Stuba. Thanks everybody for joining us. If you want to get on Zoom, email Miss Mara, the Hell's Angel. You're my Hell's Angel. Wisdom of the Sages 108 at gmail.com. And you can join us here live at Zoom. If you're new to Zoom, welcome. And if you're listening out there and you like the show, make sure you share it with people that you love. Go to Apple Podcasts, give us a 5-star review, and tell us how you got here and why you appreciate the show. I read all those. So I feel like I get to know you just by doing that. Thanks, everybody. It's a beautiful day for a beautiful day. I got to get Tarun to musical theater camp. What happened to old... it's musical theater dance. Dance? All right, that is all.